calm, excitable, or what?" "Well, sir, he is by way of being very quiet. Never has much to say for himself. Never saw him angry or excited." "Now, Podgers, you've been at Park Lane for a fortnight or more. You are a sharp, alert, observant man. What happens there that strikes you as unusual?" "Well, can't exactly say, sir," replied Podgers, looking rather helplessly from his chief to myself and back again. "Your professional duties have often compelled you to enact the part of butler before, otherwise you wouldn't do it so well. Isn't that the case?" Podgers did not reply, but glanced at his chief. This was evidently a question pertaining to the service, which a subordinate was not allowed to answer. However, Hale said at once, "Certainly. Podgers has been in dozens of places." "Well, Podgers, just call to mind some of the other households where you've been employed, and tell me any particulars in which Mr. Summertree's establishment differs from them." Podgers pondered a long time. "Well, sir, he do stick to writing pretty close." "Ah, that's his profession, you see, Podgers. Hard at it from 9:30 till towards 7, I imagine." "Yes, sir." "Anything else, Podgers, no matter how trivial?" "Well, sir, he's fond of reading too. Leastways, he's fond of newspapers." "When does he read?" "I've never seen him read 'em, sir. Indeed, as far as I can tell, I never knew the papers to be opened, but he takes them all in, sir." "What, all the morning papers?" "Yes, sir, and all the evening papers too." "Where are the morning papers placed?" "On the table in his study, sir." "And the evening papers?" "Well, sir, when the evening papers come, the study is locked. They are put on a side table in the dining room, and he takes them upstairs with him to his study." "This has happened every day since you've been there?" "Yes, sir." "You reported that very striking fact to your chief, of course?" "No, sir, I don't think I did," said Podgers, confused. "You should have done so. Mr. Hale would have known how to make the most of a point so vital." "Oh, come now, Valmont," interrupted Hale, "you're chaffing us. Plenty of people take in all the papers." "I think not. Even clubs and hotels subscribe to the leading journals only. You said all, I think, Podgers?" "Well, nearly all, sir." "But which is it? There's a vast difference." "He takes a good many, sir." "How many?" "I don't just know, sir." "That's easily found out, Valmont," cried Hale with some impatience, "if you think it really important." "I think it's so important that I'm going back with Podgers myself. You can take me into the house, I suppose, when you return?" "Oh, yes, sir." "Coming back to these newspapers for a moment, Podgers, what's done with them?" "They're sold to the ragman, sir, once a week." "Who takes them from the study?" "I do, sir." "Do they appear to have been read very carefully?" "Well, no, sir. Leastways, some of them seem never to have been opened, or else folded up very carefully again." "Did you notice that extracts have been clipped from any of them?" "No, sir." "Does Mr. Summertrees keep a scrap book?" "Not that I know of, sir." "Oh, the case is perfectly plain," said I, leaning back in my chair, and regarding the puzzled Hale with that cherubic expression of self-satisfaction which I know is so annoying to him. "What's perfectly plain?" he demanded, more gruffly perhaps than etiquette would have sanctioned. "Summertrees is no coiner, nor is he linked with any band of coiners." "What is he, then?" "Ah, that opens another avenue of inquiry. For all I know to the contrary, he may be the most honest of men. On the surface it would appear that he is a reasonably industrious tradesman in Tottenham Court Road, who is anxious that there should be no visible connection between a plebeian employment and so aristocratic a residence as that in Park Lane." At this point Spencer Hale gave expression to one of those rare flashes of reason which are always an astonishment to his friends. "That's nonsense, Monsieur Valmont," he said. "The man who is ashamed of the connection between his business and his house is one who is trying to get into society, or else the women of his family are trying it, as is usually the case. Now Summertrees has no family. He himself goes nowhere, gives no entertainments, and accepts no invitations. He belongs to no club. Therefore to say that he's ashamed of his connection with the Tottenham Court Road shop is absurd. He's concealing the connection for some other reason that will bear looking into. My dear Hale, the goddess of wisdom herself could not have made a more sensible series of remarks. Now, mon ami, do you want my assistance, or have you enough to go on with? Enough to go on with? We have nothing more than we had when I called on you last night. Last night, my dear Hale, you supposed this man was in league with coiners. Today you know he is not. I know you say he's not. I shrugged my shoulders and raised my eyebrows, smiling at him. It is the same thing, Monsieur Hale. Well, of all the conceited— And the good Hale could get no further. If you wish my assistance, it is yours. Very good. Not to put too fine a point upon it, I do. In that case, my dear Podgers, you will return to the residence of our friend Summertrees and get together for me in a bundle all of yesterday's morning and evening papers that were delivered to the house. Can you do that, or are they mixed up in a heap in the coal cellar? I can do it, sir. I have instructions to place each day's papers in a pile by itself in case they should be wanted again. There is always 1 week's supply in the cellar, and we sell the papers of the week before to the ragmen. Excellent. Well, take the risk of abstracting 1 day's journals and have them ready for me. I will call upon you at 3:30 o'clock exactly, and then I want you to take me upstairs to the clerk's bedroom in the 3rd story, which I suppose is not locked during the daytime. No, sir, it is not. With this, the patient Podgers took his departure. Spencer Hale rose when his assistant left. Anything further I can do? He asked. Yes, give me the address of the shop in Tottenham Court Road. Do you happen to have about you one of those new 5-shilling pieces which you believe to be illegally coined? He opened his pocket-book, took out the bit of white metal, and handed it to me. I'm going to pass this off before evening, I said, putting it in my pocket, and I hope none of your men will arrest me. That's all right, laughed Hale, as he took his leave. At 3:30, Podgers was waiting for me, and opened the front door as I came up the steps, thus saving me the necessity of ringing. The house seemed strangely quiet. The French cook was evidently down in the basement, and we had probably all the upper part to ourselves, unless Summertrees was in his study, which I doubted. Podgers led me directly upstairs to the clerk's room on the 3rd floor, walking on tiptoe with an elephantine air of silence and secrecy combined, which struck me as unnecessary. I will make an examination of this room, I said. Kindly wait for me down by the door of the study. The bedroom proved to be of respectable size when one considers the smallness of the house. The bed was all nicely made up, and there were 2 chairs in the room, but the usual washstand and swing mirror were not visible. However, seeing a curtain at the farther end of the room, I drew it aside and found, as I expected, a fixed lavatory in an alcove of perhaps 4 feet deep by 5 in width. As the room was about 15 feet wide, this left 2/3 of the space unaccounted for. A moment later, I opened a door which exhibited a closet filled with clothes hanging on hooks. This left a space of 5 feet between the clothes closet and the lavatory. I thought at first that the entrance to the secret stairway must have issued from the lavatory, but examining the boards closely, although they sounded hollow to the knuckles, they were quite evidently plain matchboarding and not a concealed door. The entrance to the stairway, therefore, must issue from the clothes closet. The right-hand wall proved similar to the matchboarding of the lavatory as far as the casual eye or touch was concerned, but I saw at once it was a door. The latch turned out to be somewhat ingeniously operated by one of the hooks which held a pair of old trousers. I found that the hook, if pressed upward, allowed the door to swing outward over the stairhead. Descending to the 2nd floor, a similar latch let me into a similar clothes closet in the room beneath. The 2 rooms were identical in size, one directly above the other. the only difference being